Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. Welcome to the video where I take a season 4 tournament for Supernatural to find out what my favourite episode and what my least favourite episode of the season is. If you're new to my channel, hey, I'm Scott. I do reactions to various TV shows, primarily Supernatural is one of the main shows that I do, and I've just finished season 4. If you look on my channel, there's a playlist with every reaction to the first 4 seasons. And at the end of each season, I do a tournament to find out what my favourite and least favourite episodes are. If you don't know the rules, it's pretty simple. I put episode against episode on a website, and you pick your favourite, and then it whittles them all down to your favourite, and then do it again for least favourite. I've done it for the first 3 seasons, and I'm excited to do this one. I am nervous because I feel like there's so many good episodes in season 4. My favourite is going to be hard to figure out. I have 1, maybe 2 in mind that I think are probably going to get to the top, but I play the game fairly, and I do it all fairly to find out what it is in this way, in this competition. The first 3 seasons are all season finales. Is this going to follow that trend? Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. I pretty much know what my least favourite episode is going to be. I think I know it just off the top of my head, but I'm pretty much sure what I know what my least favourite episode of the season is. If you want to play along, grab a piece of paper, write down what each match is, and decide what your favourite is, and whittle them all down to see what your favourite and least favourite of the season is, and let me know down below in the comments what you got. I'm going to just jump into it because it could be a long video. If you enjoy the video, please let me know down below in the comments your reaction to this, and also, again, what your favourite episode and least favourite episode of season 4 is, and try and pick one. It's hard, very hard, but try and pick one. And there's a Patreon link down below if you want to help support the channel and possibly watch the first episode of season 5, depending on when this goes live on YouTube. Let's jump into the ranking tournament style thing for season 4 of Supernatural. Okay, on to the first match. Criss Angel is a douchebag versus Yellow Fever. I'm not going to beat around the bush too much when it's pretty obvious to me what the answer is. Criss Angel is a douchebag was an episode about magicians. I didn't particularly like it. I thought it was quite slow, quite boring, had some interesting elements to it. The tarot cards were cool, some of the deaths were interesting, but I just found it quite slow overall for me personally. Yellow Fever, funny episode. Dean obviously gets the, I want to say ghost fever, ghost sickness, and gets scared by everything, the snake and the cat, and just all these really funny things where it takes a serious turn towards the end with the ghost and how they had to kill it. But the episode started off really hilarious for most of it, and then really heartbreaking. Easily between the two for me, it's Yellow Fever. Next, it's the Great Pumpkin, Sam Winchester versus In the Beginning. It's the Great Pumpkin, Sam Winchester was about, controversially, Samhain. Yes, I know it's not pronounced Samhain, but for the episode they pronounced it Samhain, so that's what I'm going to say. And the angels wanted to wipe out a town to stop that seal being broken. Good episode. I don't remember all the details of it. I remember some of the deaths were pretty interesting, and it was quite enjoyable. But because I don't remember all the details, that says to me that elements of it were not forgettable, is probably the wrong term to use, but weren't as memorable as some of the rest of the season. Whereas In the Beginning, flashback episode, sort of, time travel episode, I guess. Dean was sent back in time to meet young John, young Mary, as they were kids to try and, well, he thought it was to try and stop something happening there, which is why he tried to stop his mum from going down the stairs on that date. He basically said, like, on such a date, don't get out of bed. And it was really sad and really emotional. What it all turned out was that we found out more about Yellow Eyes, Sam, the demon blood, to lead down that path. But the actual story was interesting, considering that I'm not someone who usually likes flashbacky, time travel-y past episodes. It's not my sort of thing. I really enjoyed this. I thought the performances were really good. And it's easily out of the 2 my favourite. Sorry, I'm just cleaning my glasses because I saw a mark. And I thought Yellow Eyes was fun. It was nice to see Mary's parents and learn that they were hunters and she was a hunter as well. It really tied up a lot of loose ends about some stuff, and it was sad with Dean, cool with the demon. So between the 2, In the Beginning. Next, Wishful Thinking, which is the episode where the wishes came true. There was the bear that came to life and had depression, tried to kill itself. The guy who had that young woman that was in love with him, etc. When the levee breaks, the season penultimate episode of the season. Hard episode to watch, really tough to watch because Sam was losing it, keeping him trapped, and he was losing it with the demon blood. And then when he escaped, he obviously attacked Bobby. Him and Dean had a fight. Between the 2, it's probably easily when the levee breaks because emotionally it hit me pretty hard. Whilst Wishful Thinking was really funny, and I had a great time with it, and I laughed most of the way through. There was some like questionable stuff, like the man who wished that woman was in love with him was kind of gross. But Todd, kneel before Todd, was so cool. But When the Levee Breaks was just emotionally tough to watch. made me angry, very angry. Like my face there is very, I'm not impressed with you, Sam. And any episode that I feel like makes you cry, makes you angry, really makes you emotional, hits the spot pretty well, and it does its job. So yeah, between the two, when the Levee breaks. I feel like this season more than any, there's going to be a lot of mythology episodes that I like over Monster of the Week. After School Special, flashback episode, Sam and Dean at school, as we saw them combat the ghost in real time. Got to see them at school and how different they were, how Sam was like the shy one but then became popular, Dean was the popular with girls, became disliked, and the switcheroos was pretty interesting to watch, quite emotional for me, bit of a trigger with bullies. Jump the Shark, we met the brother Adam, who basically was a ghoul and was dead, but John had another kid, and it was really good. I actually liked it. I think with it being called Jump the Shark, I know I looked up some stuff with Series 4, some people didn't like this episode because it was jumping the shark, introducing the lost sibling, but I think they did it well in that it wasn't like, here's the new sibling that's going to be in here for 5 seasons, it's, here's the new sibling, oh wait, they're already dead. It was just a big secret that your dad kept, and it's sad and it's emotional, and I really liked what Adam could have been. Between the two, again, quite a tough one for me because I enjoyed both episodes, but I'm probably going to go with, which one? I thought they were both really good. I'm going to go with After School Special because, again, it hit me pretty hard with emotional resonance of it. I just thought it was nice to highlight school bullying, how it can affect people with Dirk and the kid who killed himself. Jump the Shark was good and emotional, but After School Special it hit me pretty hard. Alright, Metamorphosis on the Head of a Pin. Pretty easy one for me, but briefly, Metamorphosis was the guy who was a Rougarou, drank blood. Did he eat flesh or did he drink blood? There was something that happened that meant that he wanted like human flesh, and long story short, he was trying to stop the cravings, hold out against it, failed, was going to hurt people, and it was a whole conversation which was interesting about, do you kill someone before they do this bad thing, knowing full well that they're probably going to do it, or do you wait till the bad thing's done, in which case people might have died? And that was really interesting to talk about, left it open with the baby that left. Unfortunately, it's probably never going to get touched on again. Interesting conversation, not the most memorable episode for me. On the Head of a Pin, great. Alistair, Jensen, perfect in this episode. Great how he had to torture Alistair, how the angels forced him into it, and the reveals about Uriel being evil, and we got to see Castiel starting to waver more with his beliefs. Really good. I mean, any episode with Alistair in is top notch, because I love Christopher Heyerdahl. I think he's incredible. But this episode was good how it forced him and Dean to do a lot of the episode alone. I liked the parts that it was just those two alone in a room talking. I thought it was really good and dramatic and tense. And yeah, it was really good. I like learning more about the angels and their structure, how people are still supporting Lucifer. Yeah, really good episode. On the Head of a Pin. Easily wins between the two. Last one for this side. The Rapture versus Heaven and Hell. Oh, God. This is going to be a tough one. The Rapture. We meet Jimmy, the body that Castiel is inhabiting. Castiel gets sent back to heaven, and we find out about Jimmy and his family, and how Jimmy, being taken over by Castiel and just disappearing, affected his family. And it was so sad, because his family were nice, and as far as they were aware, the husband had a mental breakdown and left. Really awful stuff, really sad to watch, but really good episode. I loved it, and he gave up his body at the end to protect his daughter from having to do it. So sad. Heaven and Hell, second part of the two-parter. I get a little bit confused between what happened in what episode. Obviously it ended the first half where they were going to kill Anna. It was about Anna trying to... Did she get Grace back in the first one or the second one? I think she got it back in the second one. And the angels and the demons fight, and then we found out about Dean's experience in hell and how he tortures a lot of people and how hard that was for him. He was there for 40 years. Really emotional ending. But I loved both episodes. I think we'll have to go for Heaven and Hell because whilst I love the Rapture and Jimmy's story was really important and interesting to watch, whereas Heaven and Hell was integral to the storyline about finding out more about Dean's time in hell, Anna's truth, the angels and demons fighting. So Heaven and Hell just had a lot of resonance throughout the season, and the final scene was heartbreaking to watch. So I'm going to go for Heaven and Hell. Okay, now this is where it starts to get tough when it goes down the next tier. We've got to start getting rid of ones that we actually really like. Yellow Fever versus In the Beginning. Between the two, I generally feel like I would rewatch Yellow Fever more. Whilst it was heartbreaking at the end, the first half with Dean was really funny. In the beginning was great, and I loved seeing young Mary and hot young John, but Yellow Fever, I just think I preferred between the two. Ooh. When the Levee Breaks versus After School Special, right? This is where it gets complicated, because When the Levee Breaks was great, but it made me so angry and frustrated, and I loved it. But I was frustrated. After School Special made me cry and sad. So it was two very different emotions between those two episodes. What do I prefer? I'm probably more likely to watch After School Special because it was a one-off, it was contained, and I'm not going to walk away from it like I did with Levee Breaks, like, "Dear Sam, what are you doing?" Whereas like After School Special, it was emotional, but it was contained, and at the end of the episode, that was it. But what was a better episode? I'm going to go for When the Levee Breaks, because it brought back Mary, even if it was a vision. Alistair, Castiel was in it, Anna was in it. Why did Castiel release Sam? Stuff with Bobby holding the gun to Sam, like, do not leave. It was really emotional. He's like a father figure. And then Sam just going off the deep end with Ruby, and Dean confronting him. And it was tough to watch. It was really tough to watch. But I really enjoyed the episode as much as I walked away from it with the blood pressure 3 times what it was when I started. But When the Levee Breaks between the two, I believe. Oh, good God. On the Head of a Pin versus Heaven and Hell. Oh, crikey. This is a tough competition one, because they're both important episodes to this season. They're both episodes about angels. They're both episodes with Castiel in, Anna in, the demons in. They're both episodes involve Dean as a main character. One with Dean torturing Alistair, one with Dean revealing what he went through in hell. Oh God, this is really, really tough. I think my instinct, I know, and it's really tough as well, because I know that in the comments on both episodes on YouTube, I have, this is one of my favourite episodes. And it's actually quite funny how in season 4, how often in a lot of episodes people say, this is one of my favourite episodes, this is one of my favourite episodes, this is one of my favourite episodes. It makes me laugh when I pick up my phone, I have to get a notification, and it only shows me like the first few words of a comment, and quite often it says, this is one of my favourite episodes, and I laugh every time, because like season 4 is so good, there's so many different episodes of people's favourites, so no matter what I pick in this whole bracket fight, people are going to be unhappy, I know that. But between the two, I think I'm going to go for On the Head of a Pin, because I liked the torture aspect. The angels are forcing Dean to torture someone, which, as we know from Heaven and Hell, is something that he did a lot of and that he's good at, but emotionally it carries a lot of weight to him. And just him and Alistair facing off against each other, again, loved it. I liked the Uriel twist, because I know some people don't like Uriel and find him really annoying. I didn't. I found him a really interesting character. And I get the fact that there should be people out there that want to support Lucifer. Yes, Lucifer's the devil, but he was their brother. He's an angel. And so it makes sense to me that in this world of supernatural, where all these angels are warriors, are tough, are hardcore, and have the different belief systems, as much as they should all follow God's word, it's understandable that people have questions. So I think between the two, On the Head of a Pin just resonated quite a lot with me. Alright, penultimate tier on this side. Yellow Fever versus When the Levee Breaks. My instinct just says to me Yellow Fever, because it had a good mix of comedy and sadness at the end, and I really loved that story. But was it Luther? Was that the guy's name, the ghost? It was really emotional, tough to watch. Dean was iconic in this episode. So many like memorable moments, like the scream here, iconic. When the Levee Breaks, again, important episode of the show. But I'm not in any rush to rewatch it because of how frustrated I was. But how important it was is obviously something I've got to think about. But my instinct just says Yellow Fever. To the final episode ranking of this side, Yellow Fever versus On the Head of a Pin. This is a tough one. This is where I want to start on this side because it gives me time to think. I think another thing that's making me not confused but struggling to make the decision is I know how important the Angel episodes are to this season, and I know pretty much every episode that's about Castiel or Uriel, all these episodes are ones that get a lot of comments, people love them, and I'm trying to get that out of my head because I know Yellow Fever's fan favourite as well. Before I make this decision, I'm just going to put it out there that as well as some of the ones on the right hand side, I loved these two episodes. It's really difficult for me to pick between the two because they're both very different, but my instinct, my gut just says Yellow Fever, so I'm going to click it. If you don't like it, I'd apologise. On the Head of a Pin is brilliant. I'm not denying that. It's just where my heart lies. On to the second side. Death takes a holiday. Sam and Dean become ghosts to Find out why no one's dying. The Reaper's come back. Tess comes back. She was awesome. Loved her. The episode overall was good and showed us some of the darkness of Sam with him lying to the child. But overall, I'd say maybe not the most memorable episode. I liked it. I liked seeing Tessa back and I liked seeing Pamela back. But overall, probably my favourite, Lucifer Rising. This was a roller coaster episode, right? I don't think since I started my channel a year and 2 months ago, whatever it was, 3 months ago, I've ever reacted to anything the way I reacted to Lucifer Rising. I screamed multiple times, I shouted, I jumped up and down on my seat when I was right, when I was frustrated. The reaction I had to it was so visceral, which shows how much I'm getting into the show and how much I love the show. And this episode was a culmination of a lot of frustrating things for the season. Ruby, Sam drinking demon blood, the seals, Lilith, what's going to happen, Yellow Eyes, how that tied into everything else, how opening the Devil's Trap tied into everything. I fucking loved Lucifer Rising. I thought it was great. And so it's easy between the two, this one. I mean, I'm not, spoiler alert, this is possibly one of my favourite of the season. It's probably going to get up there. I'm going to wait and see, play it fairly. But like, Left Takes a Holiday was good. Lucifer Rising was gold tier episode for me. Loved it. Okay, first episode of the season, Lazarus Rising versus It's a Terrible Life. Again, both brilliant episodes. Lazarus Rising, premiere episode of the season. Dean gets dragged out of hell. We meet Castiel. What's going on? Who's this chick that Sam's banging in this hotel room? Possibly. You know, he was. And just, why is Dean back? Who's brought him back? What's this weird siren-y noise that keeps going off and that's breaking all these windows? Pamela loses her eyesight. And then at the end, Castiel appears, and it was great. And I wish it hadn't been spoiled for me before it happened, because it was a brilliant introduction to a character, like visually him walking through that barn, doors fly open, all the lights I think blow, and the lightning's going, I believe, that's how it went down, and then the big wings appear. Brilliant visually. I just wish I didn't know it was coming. But I love that episode. Really great way to start a season off with a fucking bang. Let's go with the season. It's a Terrible Life, another strong episode that I loved. Sam and Dean are in this like world, being transported into these bodies where they work at a tech company, and they have to solve this ghost. It was a ghost, wasn't it? Ghost case, and it was a play by the angels to get them to realise that this is their life. They cannot just quit, because Dean quit at the end of the last episode. Fun episode. I don't think it compares to Lazarus Rising, but It's a Terrible Life is definitely one I'm going to rewatch soon, because I had a good time with it. I had a really fun time with Sam being this tech guy and smashing his phone up, Dean being the high-powered, I don't eat carbs, I go to the gym, all that sort of stuff. I thought it was really fun, but Lazarus Rising was just, again, iconic. Monster Movie versus Family Remains. Monster Movie, again, I adored this episode. Not everyone's favourite, I noticed from the comments there was a bit of mixed reaction to it, but because I used to watch a lot of black and white movies, a lot of old monster movies, like Nosferatu, The Bride of Frankenstein, Invisible Man, all that kind of stuff, I really delved into this theme so hard, and I loved it. I thought it was beautiful style, beautiful acting. The Dracula in particular was so funny, and I just thought it was really, really awesomely done. It wasn't good grammar, but you know what I mean. And it makes me a little bit sad that it's not people's favourite, or at least one of people's favourites, because genuinely, if you know this genre well, this kind of 50s, maybe B-movie, black and white cheesiness, you appreciate it a lot more. So maybe it's just that people just don't like that kind of genre. So the episode wasn't for them, but I loved it. Family Remains, spooky episode, in a house, family moves in, there's ghosts in the walls, turns out it was people living under the floor and moving between the walls. Well, I just want to quickly say, right, I like Family Remains. I don't think it is a touch on Monster Movie, but I thought Family Remains was quite creepy and definitely felt a little bit more like a season 1 episode, because it brought about that darkness, that creepy haunted house aspect that we've not seen all that much recently, especially with Series 4. Whilst I love the ongoing stuff with the angels, I felt like the Monster of the Week was a bit lacking in some parts. Some of them were really good, some of them were not. Family Remains, I liked it, but I do know that a lot of people don't like it. Someone recommended a YouTube channel who does like a lot of rankings, supernatural episodes, or like top 5, bottom 5, and I checked out just the bottom 5 of season 4 when I finished the season, and he had that last episode, hated it, and I looked briefly at the comments, and a lot of people were in agreement that it was terrible. I don't agree. I thought it was fine. Like, it wasn't the best. It's one of the weaker of the season, but I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was a good little haunted house story. But yeah, for me, Monster Movie, definitely the way forward. I Know What You Did Last Summer versus Sex and Violence. A pretty easy one. I Know You Did Last Summer introduced Anna as a woman who could hear angel voices as they speak between each other, and it turned out she was an angel that had lost her grace. That was really cool. We got the introduction to Alistair, more about the angels. Anytime we learned more about new angels like Castiel, Uriel, Anna, Zachariah, and the archangels got touched on as well. I was invested. I want to know more, and how they all are very different characters and all deal with things differently and have different approaches to situations. I love learning more about Anna and meeting Alistair. Sex and Violence, siren episode, was fine. Like, I enjoyed it. Again, another one that I think people have at the bottom of this season. I don't think it was bad. It wasn't particularly memorable, other than Sam getting hot and heavy with the Doctor in the office. I'm like, yes, Sam, I am a fan. But yeah, between the two, easily, I Know What You Did Last Summer was a much better episode. Last original matchup, Are You There, God? It's Me, Dean Winchester, episode 2 of the season. Are You There, God? It's Me, Dean Winchester, as some people who they have failed came back for a bit of a chat, like Meg's original body, and there was the guy who was in the bank robbery episode. I want to say Larry, but I don't know if it is or not. And Agent Hendrickson came back. I really liked seeing them again. Again, I don't think it's people's favourite episode by a long shot, but I thought it was a fun little episode. We learned more about the seals, and that was really interesting. That was really our driving force of the season, like the 66 seals. I enjoyed it, but not as much as the monster at the end of this book. A prophet who was writing these supernatural books, and it was all about Sam and Dean's actual adventures in book form. But very much an episode of two halves. First half of the episode, very meta, and about this fandom and the comments that they're making and how they're heavily invested in Sam and Dean and how, oh my god, I can't believe how like emotional and open they are. Like, how much is he leaving out of these books? Like when we met that girl that was a super fan. But it was interesting to see the book covers and which episodes they'd used. Interesting to know they didn't use every episode. I wonder if there's a reason why certain episodes were not used as books, but some were. Because I thought it might be like, oh, here, we've got 66 plus books now at this point. But it was all interesting. And then the second half was more about, he's a prophet, we have to protect him. Lilith turned up briefly for a bit to try and have sex with Sam. And yeah, I can say between the two, the monster at the end of this book had a lot more of an interesting concept, characters, and it's definitely going to be an ongoing thing moving forward, because at the end of the season, Castiel was with the prophet as the archangel started to appear, so I feel like he's definitely going to have more of an impact moving forward. And I believe someone did comment saying like the whole supernatural fandom is touched on again as well, which I think is going to be really cool, because I like the whole meta aspect of those two. Right, I feel like I've been talking for about 3 hours. Let's try and get through this pretty quickly. Lucifer Rising, a Lazarus Rising, season finale, season premiere. I think for me, it's easily Lucifer Rising. I don't just want to be... I always pick season finales, but if they're good, they're good. And this was fantastic. I was so right about Ruby, so frustrated that I was right, so happy I was right, so angry with Sam, so happy with Dean, angry with the angels when we learnt their true plan. It was just such an important episode for the show. Lucifer coming at the end when the gate to his cage opens. And whilst I loved Lazarus Rising as well, it was a really great kick-off episode for the season, Lucifer Rising for me was just an emotional roller coaster that I'm never going to get over, I don't think. Monster Movie versus I Know You Did Last Summer. I'm going to get hate for this, and I know that. But I'm going to put Monster Movie because I just genuinely love that genre of movie, so it just hit a special place for me. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I Know You Did Last Summer was a bad episode. It was not. I loved all the Anna stuff and the angels and learning more about their world. Don't get me wrong. So don't put hateful comments. It's just my opinion. But just Monster Movie was just something special for me. Like, I know there's a Scooby-Doo episode in like one of the last few seasons, right? If you're a Scooby-Doo fan and you love Supernatural, that episode, if it's good and well done, I imagine it hits a really special place for people. They're both really good episodes. I don't really want to pick between the two, but name of the game, I have to. So let's move on very quickly because, like I said, I don't think it's going to reach the finale, but we'll see. Lucifer Rising versus Monster Movie, like I just said, between the two, whilst I did love Monster Movie, it's not a patch on Lucifer Rising. Incredible episode. And the last one of this side, Lucifer Rising versus the monster at the end of the book. No challenge really for me. Lucifer Rising was just... I can't explain how stressed I was. I've never screamed. I'm not the kind of reactor that's just like, oh my god, every possible thing that happens on the screen. It's just not my style. I'm quite a relaxed person. I'm quite a calm person for the most part. And I'm just quite thoughtful. I watch things, I take it in, and I say what I think. It's very rare that I'm like bad should be lower spot. But this episode got me to that point. So between the two, Lucifer Rising. And the final two episodes, my two favourite episodes probably of the season, Yellow Fever versus Lucifer Rising. As cheesy as it is, and everyone's like, oh, you're just going to pick all the season finales. I'm sorry, it's Lucifer Rising. I thought it was great. I loved it. It made me so hyped for season 5. It was a culmination of, like I say, Yellow Eyes, his whole plan. They tied it in with Open the Gates to Hell, which was something to me was always an ongoing. We opened the gates to hell. And yes, a couple of people that were important got out. But it felt like it was never explored to its full extent. It was just, yeah, Ruby got out. Yeah, Lilith got out. And that, like, there was no huge consequences other than that for the Gates to Hell being open. So I'm glad that they tied it into, we had to release Lilith to break the seals because she can do that because she's the first demon. I loved it all. So frustrating. Ruby is a bloody pain in my butt. And I'm glad I'm right. So frustrating. And again, I will agree with people that say that final scene when Jen revealed her true nature was good acted. I was impressed. I enjoyed that. I didn't like her as Ruby most of the season, but that final scene was pretty good. But yeah, Lucifer Rising, cannot wait for season 5. And let's do it all again very quickly for our least favourite episode of the season. So we'll start by going through the ones that we didn't pick. So I didn't pick Chris Angel as a douchebag. I didn't pick It's a Great Pumpkin. I didn't pick Wishful Thinking. I didn't pick Jump the Shark. And I didn't pick Metamorphosis. And I didn't pick The Rapture. The easy part of this for me is that because there's some great episodes that I didn't pick, like Jump the Shark was brilliant, Great Pumpkin was really good, Rapture was awesome, it makes this worst episode ranking so much easier. It was Great Pumpkin, good episode. I didn't really like Chris Angel's a douchebag, that one. Wishful Thinking, really funny, really good. Jump the Shark, I really enjoyed it. I know that a lot of people didn't, but I actually preferred Jump the Shark to Wishful Thinking. I thought it was really well done. Metamorphosis versus The Rapture. Metamorphosis, in a heartbeat, does not have a patch on The Rapture. Chris Angel the douchebag versus Wishful Thinking. Chris Angel, worse than the Teddy episode, didn't like it that much. Chris Angel the douchebag versus Metamorphosis. Now, before I do this one, these are two that I knew were two of the ones that were going to be my least favourite because they were both fine episodes. Like, they had some good elements to them, but I just don't think they match this season in terms of quality. Interesting things to talk about in Metamorphosis more than the other one, but between the two, Chris Angel the douchebag, I didn't really enjoy that much. It was kind of the one that stood out to me as, I could have done without that episode. Yeah, so out of the two, Chris Angel's a douchebag. Okay, I didn't pick Death Takes a Holiday, didn't pick Terrible, what are you doing? Terrible Life, didn't pick Family Remains, I didn't pick Sex and Violence, and I didn't pick Are You There? God, it's me doing Winchester. Okay, on the next tier, least favourite, Death Takes a Holiday versus It's Terrible Life. I enjoyed It's Terrible Life a lot. Really excited to do a rewatch of... when I do a rewatch, I'll probably do the whole season anyway. It's Terrible Life was so good. Death Takes a Holiday was good. Had a lot of interesting things to talk about. Just wasn't my favourite out of the two. I definitely think It's Terrible Life was more fun. Family Remains versus Sex and Violence. Both episodes that I feel like were fine. Had some good creepy moments in Family Remains. Some good fun moments in Sex and Violence, like Sam getting hot and heavy with the doctor. I like the siren twist with the copper. Between the two, what's my least favourite? Probably, controversially, Sex and Violence, because whilst it's fun, it's very not memorable for me at all. But Family Remains, whilst I know people don't like it, I like the human horror aspect. I enjoyed it, like Benders, where it was humans that were the villain. I liked that. I thought there were some really creepy moments. It did harken back to some great Monster of the Week episodes from Series 1 and 2. So I went for Sex and Violence. Sorry. Don't hate. Death Takes a Holiday or Sex and Violence. Sex and Violence I didn't like out of the two as much. Finally, Sex and Violence or Are You There God, It's Me, D. Winchester. I'm going to go for Sex and Violence again. So Are You There God, whilst not the strong episode of the show, in terms of like comparatively to a lot of the Angel episodes, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing a few characters back. Because Sex and Violence was just funny, but not the most memorable episode overall of the season. But as I expected, these are two of the ones that I did think will be on the final two of my least favourite of the season, but I know what it is. I knew going into this one it was, but I wanted to play it fairly, just in case something surprised me and I forgot about an episode. But my least favourite episode of season 4 is Chris Angel is a douchebag. I know there are some people that like that, there are some people that enjoy this episode, but for me, it just was quite weak. I didn't care about the magicians, whilst they had some good moments, and the deaths were cool with the tarot cards and how it mirrored the acts, and I don't mind episodes that focus on like the one-off characters. There's some good episodes of most shows that do that. I know X-Files in particular, I can think of one episode that I think I talked about in this one as well. But I just didn't find them all that interesting. And I'm sorry if you like this episode, but for me, it was just quite easily, when I watched it, I knew it was going to be one of my least favourite episodes of the season. And when I sat down to do this list, I had a feeling that Chris Angel as a douchebag was going to be down there. And that was it. That's the video. I worked out my favourite episode of season 4 was, my least favourite episode of season 4. So my favourite episode, Lucifer Rising. My least favourite episode, Chris Angel is a douchebag. Lucifer Rising is joining Devil's Trap, All Hell Breaks Loose Part 2, and The Rest for the Wicked. I am actually loving that the season finales are all amazing episodes. I said it last time, I'll say it again. I love shows where season finales are incredible, because it makes me really hyped for the end of a season. Some shows have great episodes in the middle, and they kind of like whimper out towards the end, but season finales of Supernatural so far have all been my favourite episodes. And Chris Angel as a douchebag joins Bugs, Children Shouldn't Play With Dead Things, and Sin City as my least favourite episode of season 4. I'll try and post these things onto my community posts on YouTube when this comes out, so let me know down below what your favourite episode of the season is, what your least favourite episode of the season is, or let me know how much you disagree with me. I know, in particular, for favourite episodes, there's going to be ones that are controversial. I know Monster Movie's not everyone's favourite. I know that. And it wasn't my favourite, but it was one of my favourites of the season. Just, it was stuck in my head so much since I watched it, and I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. But I know there's some that I didn't put as high, others did. That's why this ranking style is different, because it's not least favourite to favourite. So some episodes that are really incredible episodes just instinctively get left behind because they're paired with something so strong. If you put Lucifer Rising against, say, Yellow Fever as the first match at the very beginning, Lucifer Rising would have gone ahead and Yellow Fever would have been left in the background for the very first match. But because the way the cards fell, because it's all randomised, it came up as my second favourite in the final match. So I think it's a really interesting way to do it. I was watching, as always, Men of Scott. I hope you guys are well. Taking care of yourselves and staying safe. If you enjoyed the video, let me know down below in the comments what you thought. Please take a look at my Patreon link to subscribe to it if you want to help support the channel. And very soon, we'll be starting season 5 of Supernatural. Yep, thanks for watching. Take care, and I'll see you all very soon for the next episode. Bye, guys. Stay safe and have a good evening.